Hey y'all, it's Jessica here from Just Give Me Jesus. Welcome, and we are starting on another week of challenges with different techniques and different things you can do in your journals. Today we're going to be working with pockets, and I'm actually using glassine paper that I have in my shop, and I'll link it below. And I'm actually adding this to another glassine page that was already in my journal that I had sprayed with some Distress Oxides. And it is so fun to spray glassine paper with ink sprays. So now I'm just trying to cut this pocket out. And all of these challenges we are doing as a result of the discussion we've been having over on Creative Faith and Friends podcast. So if you're listening, thank you. If you're not and want to head over, that's also linked in the comments below, description below. I get so confused. Podcast, show notes, anyway, all the different things. I was going to come up with some more, but they're gone now. Y'all excuse my voice today. I've either got a little summer cold or something going on, so it could be the weather. But anyway, it is what it is. So this is a new stencil that I just got in my shop, and it's chicken wire, and it is so stinking cute. But I wanted to ink that glassine paper with it, and I learned a very valuable lesson that you should tape it down before you start inking, but it still turned out great. And I'm using some Archival Ink because that glassine paper is shiny and slick, and I wanted it to stay on there. So I wanted it to be an Archival Ink to make sure that it didn't go anywhere. So I'm just taking that little brush and stencil and putting that ink all over that chicken wire. But it was sliding. Everything was slick, so it was sliding everywhere. This is a pretty green ink. It didn't show up quite as much as I wanted it to. The green was just too close to the transparent color of that paper. You actually saw it more in person than you could on video. So I'm just drying it a little bit here because I didn't want it to rub off. And I decided I wanted to add another color just to see if I could get it to work just a little better. So I'm using my stays on, and y'all, I'm not good at switching utensils out. I'm just like, meh. There's a little spot on here I think I can use, so I'm gonna go for it. And that's what I did. But I did tape it down just a little bit this time. It would have been better if I had taped it all down to begin with, but I didn't. So I'm just adding a little bit of black in different places to make sure that I wanted to get the real definition of that chicken wire. It kind of looks like a honeycomb too, but it's more of a, if you get up close to it, it's got a chicken wire look. I'm just going to pull that up, and now you can see the individual stencils, lines of it, and I love it. Stencil and a little bit of color can add so much to anything you're working on. And no, I know I should not be using this with my hands, but I did anyway. And I'm not a rebel. I would love to claim to be. Not really. I'm a rule follower. I would never love to be a rebel. The only time I have freedom is when I feel like I guess I'm doing art. I have a little bit of freedom of expression and thought, and I decided I still didn't like it that much. I wanted to add another color, and y'all, when I opened this ink pad, it looks awful. I haven't used it in years, and I was like, whoa, what in the world has happened to it? But when I started rubbing it, some of the ink came up, and it was fine. Might be a little dry, but it worked. It just toned it down a little bit, and you don't actually see the pink on this, but it just changes the color a little bit to make it, to tone down that green and black, which completely did not go with the colors on my glassine page. But that's okay, because I'm going to end up adding things in this pocket, so you're not going to see the page that much. That's never enough, right? Keep on adding more. Oh, I got so frustrated. I just forget it. I'm just gonna add a little bit here and there. And there it is sewed. I wasn't going to take my camera over to my sewing machine, mainly because my sewing desk is such a hot mess. It was not have been a pleasant sight. So I took it over there and sewed it with a zigzag stitch and then a straight stitch on top of that. And these little cards, I think I got them from Paper Bits and Baubles on Etsy. I love the look at it, but I'm actually going to cover that up a little bit. And I'm going to use my brushes that have a little ink on them on a couple of the edges just to add a tiny bit. This is a library card that I printed out from Pink Paper Peppermints, and I'm adding that same stencil just to add some cohesiveness between the elements that I'm using. Love that library card with that stencil on it. I love it like that. I'm going to use that on there. That's a journal card from Pink Paper Peppermints. And I'm just inking the edges with something I had laying on my desk. It's actually probably a mixture of several different colors. Curious if anybody actually washes those foamy things on there. Stampy thingies that you put color on different things with. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The daubers, but they're not daubers. They're stamp foam. No, I don't even know. Okay, I'm gonna hush. I'm just grabbing some little bits of paper from my little paper jar. And I'm really wanting to add that that feather in my stuff somehow today, because I wanted to add. My son will grab feathers if he sees them for me because he knows I love them. And I have a little baggie of little feathers that he's found. My favorite are the little ones because I can use those in my journals. Y'all, he's so funny. Like, he knows I like to use stuff. So we went to Schlotzsky's last night for supper, and he pulled the outer picture of the Schlotzsky's cup off and was like, "Hey Mama, I did this for you because I thought you might want to use it in your arts and crafts." It's like, oh, that's so sweet. Could be because we were also at Schlotzsky's and I made my husband ask for a paper that they wrap their sandwiches in, because we had to get an extra one for my son to wrap his sandwich, and it was so pretty. I was like, I think I need one of these. Go ask for an extra. They kindly and sweetly obliged. I'm just adding some things to these little pockets because I'm going to put them all, not pockets, these little cards, because I'm going to put them all in the pocket together. So I wanted to get my little elements added to all of them. Those are the transparent wings from Tim Holtz, and these are some little butterflies from Pink Paper Peppermints. Thought that would make a neat little topper to that. And this little printable, if you are not subscribed to Pink Paper Peppermint's emails, you need to be. She has been sending out the coolest printables on Thursdays with the podcast. And this little slide printable with some vintage florals, and it actually came from the email about the podcast this past Thursday. It's so cool. So I'm just going to add that to that little card. I have plenty of journaling space on the back of these cards. It's hard to make decisions sometimes, isn't it? Y'all, I'm sitting in a back room doing this voiceover, and I can hear my dog snoring so loudly in another room. It's so funny. That's some Simple Stories washi. I also have that in my shop. And this was some text that was on the printable that Melissa sent out in her email. I'm just cutting the end bit of that little feather off because I actually cut off more of that than I expected. I didn't remember cutting that much off. The word we're working with this week is grow. So it's interesting when you're trying to do different things and working in your journal or in art and you want to grow. Well, you have to make yourself kind of get outside your comfort zone and grow with your art or your journaling or whatever you're working on. Which I like to incorporate different things into mine, which makes me grow if I'm looking at mixed media and collage. And today I incorporated a feather. And it's not my first time. That's some seam binding that I have gotten that's already colored, and I'm just adding that to the top of the tag because I wanted it to have a cuter little element at the top. And I'm still not liking the placement of this feather. I played with that feather for so long. Sometimes you're like, okay, I know I can make this work on here, but I don't know how. And then you put it one spot and you're like, oh, there you go. That works. When you're doing different things and you start to see things come together, you really get a feeling of accomplishment, I guess. But I like that little feather on that pocket. And even now, looking at it, my eyes like it. Most of the feathers we have found when we go out to our land or the river, we like to collect rocks and different things like that. But feathers is another thing that we look for. I've had my son slam on the brakes. Well, not slam on the brakes because that would be dangerous. But I've made my son stop so that I can pick up a feather I've spotted off of a four-wheeler. My youngest son, who's 8, will come home with a feather in his pocket. Sometimes not the cleanest. That he has stuffed in there knowing that I like feathers. I'm like, okay, thank you. Now go wash your hands. This also came from Melissa's printables this week. With our word being grow, I wanted to add that there. And that just kind of all came together just right there. I had that little bit of lace laying there, and then that feather and that word. It was just like, oh, That's exactly what I wanted. That feather did not want to stay down, so I know that glue will hold it, but I just had to get it stuck. So I clipped it until it was glued down well. Once it's glued down, it's not going anywhere. Added my little word on top of the feather. And I still wanted to add something to this little card. Gotten these little hummingbird charms on AliExpress, I think, but they were pretty, and I don't remember if they're called multicolored or iridescent or what, but they have that rainbow effect to them. I thought it would be pretty if it hung down from this little charm. But it didn't lay flat if I hung it like that, so I decided to add a jump ring to it. And let me tell you, there is nothing graceful or pretty about me putting on a jump ring. But I can't. Some people do it with one set of pliers, and I'm like, that is fantastic, because I really need like 4. I used 2, but I need like 4. So I just added it to the top of that with a bulb pen. So it'll kind of dangle on that little card. And I'm going to add my little words that I had cut up and wanted to put up there to start with. And I think I forgot. I know that is shocking. I forget everything. If it's not written down, it doesn't get done. And it says Grow in Grace. And I thought that was just the perfect little addition for my journal. So now I've just got to add those to the pocket. That feather is good and stuck now. Gonna add those to the pocket. And then I'm gonna put my little printables challenge also that came in the email printable. I'm gonna put this back in my journal, my inspiration journal that I'm working on with the things that we're talking about in the podcast. Ta-da! There it is, right there. And the colors actually go so well, and I really didn't plan that. It's just kind of what my eye likes. And that's the reminder of the challenges for this week right there. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I look forward to you being back for more. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to go find us.